only the Kurds can do something about this, try to stop this biological and chemical attack. Now, the Kurds are the ones that are in contact right now with the Vlach and the Metr, trying to avoid this from happening, because the other side really wants this to happen. And how can it be avoided? How can it be stopped? There's many ways. The Kurds can give them something that they want. It has happened before. It will happen again in the future if we're around here, and it has happened in other places. They're smart. They will come up with something one way or another. I don't know which way, because it also depends on the other side if they accept what the Kurds are giving to them or not. You know, sometimes you have to dance with the devil to keep the music going. But I can tell you this much. It's a promise I'll make you. If, for some one way or another, the biological attack does not happen in the next 5 weeks, give or take a few days, if it doesn't happen, something else will happen at a smaller scale. They will make them mark. They will cause some kind of catastrophe in the world. Not the biological attack, but something smaller, yet still very big. It might be a huge mega earthquake that affects millions of people. Not that those earthquakes you feel every day in LA or in Tokyo and destroy some buildings, maybe 20 people die. No, I'm talking about something bigger, like it has happened in the past. It might be that, a huge earthquake. It might be a volcanic eruption, a huge one. It can be a nuclear explosion. I don't know. They blow up a nuclear plant somewhere. A couple of nuclear reactors, like Chernobyl. So this can happen within these next 5 weeks or right after. Or right after these 5 weeks, this smaller catastrophe. You know, because if they reach an agreement today to stop the biological attack, the Vlach and Met can do this smaller catastrophe the next day, or in 2 weeks, or in 3 weeks. Or they can do it, and if they don't do it in the next 5 weeks, which is the time frame that we think this will happen, that they have planned on doing it, then it will happen after November 20th. But always before the end of the year. Always before the end of the year. This is a big disaster. But, you know, as you know, we know these things are coming. They follow a pattern, you know, pattern of disaster. And I've proven to you many times that when I say things are going to happen, they do happen. And I've been doing those predictions for 12 years. Many I shown to everybody, others I only showed to the 72s for other reasons. But this, one way or another, will happen.
Now breaking news, a powerful earthquake has struck southern Alaska, triggering a tsunami warning. According to the USGS, the 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck off Sandpoint, Alaska, just before 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Attention. A tsunami warning has been issued for this area. Tune in to a reliable media source for details.
Tsunami waves are as follows in Alaska daylight time. Sandpoint, Alaska on October 19th at 1:55 p.m.
But this, one way or another, will happen. Hello. So, let's look into this earthquake. I don't know, just to get something out of the way. Some of you may say, Dantes, earthquakes in Alaska are very common. Yes. Earthquakes are common everywhere in the world. In Alaska, even more than in most places of the world. They're in the so-called Ring of Fire, and they're used to earthquakes, smaller earthquakes, of course, almost on a daily basis, small ones. Sometimes you see the water shaking a little bit. So yes, they do get more earthquakes than most parts of the world, but not this big. This big it doesn't happen every day or every week or even every month. In fact, this big only happened twice this year. One was in July 22nd, and there's a reason for that, but that's for another video. And then this one. These are the two big ones this year. They don't happen all the time. Okay. And like I said on the video, and I was not talking about the small one. I was talking about the big one. The 7.5 is a big one, which can, in fact, produce a tsunami and affect the lives of millions, like I said. And this could be very well it. Not only the population of Alaska, it's not that big, but could go to Canada, Vancouver, for example. And that would be a big disaster. Anyway, so this year there's only two this big in Alaska. Two. So it doesn't happen every day or every week or every month. And number two, I have to be smart and connect the dots. And they're very simple. You watched the video, the previous one about this, and just 8 days ago, and I told you this is going to happen. Might be an earthquake, and boom, 8 days later, there you have it. Now, the good news is that the big biological attack that Vlash and Ahmet were planning was cancelled. So, and I don't know the ins and outs, but one of these days I'll show you, because I want to show some kind of evidence, not just be another person on YouTube just talking. Oh, we heard from some source and this and that, or put a robot voice. That's not what I do. Once I have more evidence, then I'll show you what happened with the deal, because there will be evidence of that deal between the Kurds and the Vlash and the Met. You'll see it on Earth probably too, and beyond. You'll see things happening the next few weeks, which then, based on what I already told you and what I'm telling you now, then it'll make sense. Right now, we'll wait. But I'll make that connection. You will see. Believe me, you'll see, because I'll show you. You don't have to believe me. I'll show you. Anyway, so the big biological attack, this one, apparently was cancelled. The Kurds did something. I'll show you when it comes. Now, something interesting about this, because this earthquake was what I told you, what was going to happen. Another tragedy of a smaller scale, and this was a Vlash or Met, I don't know yet, but I'll find out, attack. They produced this so-called earthquake, and I'll show you, I'll prove it to you. Just a second. Now, and they produced it. And the intention was not to destroy a big area because of the earthquake. Otherwise, they would have done it on land. No, they did it on the ocean, so that it could produce a tsunami, which would affect all of Alaska, but mainly was Vancouver that they were after. The target was Vancouver. Why it didn't happen? Well, because right after this earthquake, the Kurds, which are way more advanced technologically than the Karish, use one of their guns to counterweight the waves, to stop the waves from start forming, getting bigger, more water, getting involved in this until we get, for example, to Vancouver. It will be huge. I'll show you how it's done. Just a sec. How it was done. Just a second. Yeah, so that's what happened. They attacked, they provoked this earthquake in order to create a tsunami, mainly to affect Vancouver. Vancouver would be not destroyed, but thousands and thousands and thousands of people would die and millions would be affected all over the world, because families and friends and businesses, destroying businesses, ships, anything, everything. Anyway, so that's what this earthquake was about. It was that smaller catastrophe that I was telling you about. And now I'm gonna usually explain something to you. I'm gonna prove to you that this was not a normal earthquake. You know, usually earthquakes this big are not normal. They're created by someone. By Met, by Flash, by others too. Anyway, you know how this can be proven that this is not a normal earthquake? Because normal earthquakes, the big ones, even a 5.0, 5.5, even a 4 or a 4.5, are followed not by hundreds but thousands of aftershocks. All of them. Talk about a normal earthquake. Natural earthquake. Due to many things, tectonic plates moving, it's part of being living on in a living planet. But then don't kill millions. These artificial ones can kill millions. Anyway, usually, like I was saying, usually even a 4.0, 4.55, and they are followed by thousands and thousands of smaller aftershocks. Well, this one did not. No, this one had one, which was the Kursk gun, stopping the tsunami from being created, from getting bigger. This day, you had the earthquake, 7.5, which was Metro or Flash or both, and you had one aftershock, not thousands, like it happens every single time. Every single time, thousands of aftershocks on a natural earthquake. This only had one aftershock. Now, on the news, and some actually said it had one aftershock. Others, and I'll show you, said it had a few aftershocks, and they say, yeah, the aftershock of 5.6, 5.8, 5.2 did it, but did it? Because I'm going to show you that it didn't. That never happened. They said that. A couple of news agencies or more, I don't know, I was not looking at all of them. They said, yeah, there was a few. But there wasn't, The journalists were not there counting how many aftershocks. It was told to them, by the government agency that tracks those things, supposedly. They're the ones who told, yeah, there was these aftershocks, and then the news agencies, the journalists, like, okay, and then it was followed by 4 or 5 aftershocks. They just write what they're told. They just speak, write, say it, whatever, what they're told. They're not, checking out, in the lab, checking out everything. No, they were told and they wrote, they what they were told. They said what they were told to say. So they talked about a few aftershocks. Never happened. Let me show you what they said. Let me show you.
According to the USGS, the 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck off Sandpoint, Alaska, just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. It was followed by several aftershocks in the 5.0 magnitude range.
They've got the arrival times for any kind of wave activity they'd expect, but I don't see any wave height information. So I would think they're still reassessing or assessing, not reassessing, Still assessing whether or not there's any wave activity. I would wait at least an hour or two before definitively saying whether or not there is a wave. An hour, not 2 hours. 2 hours is overkill. 1 hour from the point of the earthquake, you could pretty much say whether or not there's going to be a wave or not. If there's no wave by that point detected, there is no tsunami. Now, we do have aftershock activity taking place. For instance, a 5.2 just struck as an aftershock. I think that's the first noteworthy aftershock. We have everything 0.0 and greater turned on. So it is the first. How could there only be one aftershock on this? I've got the USGS 0.0 and greater feed turned on. So why wouldn't they show us anything smaller? This is Alaska, and they are normally showing us all the small earthquakes up in Alaska. So either they're omitting thousands of small earthquakes that are striking right now, or we've got a technical outage of some kind. Let me go turn on our USGS 0.01 day feed. See if that's going to make any difference. We should have a whole bunch of other aftershocks going on along with this quake. Not even one. We've got one 5.2 aftershock. Something's funny about that, guys. We've got one 5.2 aftershock. Something's funny about that, guys. And funny, I don't mean like humorous. I mean there's something wrong with that. Because again, you can't get a 7.5 with tsunami and just one little aftershock of a 5. There should just be a whole bunch hitting right now, filling up the whole feed. And the fact that there's not means something's wrong with the reporting of the earthquakes. That's the only explanation.
It was followed by several aftershocks in the 5.0 magnitude range.
We've got one 5.2 aftershock. Something's funny about that, guys. And funny, I don't mean like humorous. I mean there's something wrong with that. Because again, you can't get a 7.5 with tsunami and just one little aftershock of a 5.
Attention. A tsunami warning has been issued for this area.
And we're back to major large activity. Nothing to scoff at when we get a tsunami warning. And the tsunami warning is still technically going, and it will go probably for the next hour until they ultimately figure out there's no wave. Don't want to say there's no wave for certain. Don't quote me on that.
Now, the crews were able to avoid this smaller catastrophe that Vlash and the Met were planning, but they failed. And so, this is not the end of it. They will try again and again. It's coming. I told you the timeline can be, now because the biological attack was cancelled. They'll keep on trying until the end of the year, and they'll probably succeed. They're more in numbers. They're more technologically advanced. They'll succeed somehow. They'll keep on trying. To be continued. Stay safe.
So, so the most important thing you gotta remember is, okay, so some people were, they were doing some stuff, and then other people were like, hey, don't do that stuff, and then other people were like, hey, yeah, they should do, that stuff. It's good that they're doing that stuff, and then the other people were like, I don't think they should be doing that stuff, and then they're doing, so things are like what I'm trying to say is that, in conclusion, I have no idea.